Hey Julie, welcome to When Spirit Talks.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited to chat with you, really, really excited because I want to hear all about your story as to how you became an energy healer and birth doula.
So it's actually a pretty interesting story because I was in finance.
Mm.
Um, I started a career in investment banking. I was not going to be in the spiritual world. I grew up with a mom who was very spiritual. She still is. I used to play harp when I turned 7 because I felt very connected to angels and my mom, she was always talking about tarot reading and doing pendulum and all of that stuff. She loved numerology, astrology, and I was very in tune to it when I was a child. But then, when my parents got divorced and everything was pretty crazy, I decided to completely reject the spiritual world as a teenager. And I was like, no, I need to be in finance. I need to like be independent, fit in the society. Um, so I really started my career in finance when I was like 18, and by age 25, I was struggling to get pregnant, and I had a very severe case of PCOS, and I started to seek holistic healing because otherwise it was only medical medicine options. So I was like, no, I need to know what's going on. And with my mom being in the spiritual world, she was introducing me to these people who were doing Akashic records readings, numerology, energy healing, you name it. She was like, you gotta try all that stuff. So I went on a big awakening journey of learning about holistic healing and trying so many different things to just heal my womb. Um, and it took me at least a year of practicing lots of different things to get pregnant naturally. It happened. My doctors were actually shocked because I didn't have cycles for 2 years. They were telling me I was infertile, like nothing could reverse it. My ovaries were just like covered in cysts, with cysts. So it was definitely a miracle, but I did a lot of work. And then I quit finance, and I was like, women needs to know that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when my whole journey really started. I decided to really learn what healed me to offer it to other women. So first I went to this woman who was offering these Akashic records readings, um, that I really think what is it it's what really helped me to heal and break free from all this blockage in my womb. So I met with her and I trained with her. And then I started to also do the certification with IIN, it's pretty famous in the US, as a health coach. So I kind of like combine my certification as a health coach with the holistic healing, the Akashic records readings. And then I started to attract clients that struggle to get pregnant. So I started to like offer these readings and these reprogrammings of past life traumas and soul contracts, and it worked so fast. Like women will get pregnant. I helped so many women release fertility blocks that year. It was just incredible, and that's when I started to be like, okay, I'm always gonna do this work. I didn't want to do the doula work yet.
Mm-hmm.
I was more into like the healing part of working holistically with people, and I just attracted a lot of women who struggling with fertility, but then also had a lot of fears toward birth. Even like first-time mamas who have no idea why they fear so much birth, but they do, and that's actually can create a blockage in you to get pregnant as well. So then once they were getting pregnant, we will work on that fear for them to be prepared for birth. So I started to do birth preparation with them, but not as a doula, just like as a energy healer. And then so many women started to be like, oh, I wish you would be a doula. I wish I would have you in my birth. And then I was like, maybe I should be a doula. Because so many were asking me, and it kind of made sense. So actually last year, so after 7 years of being in just a energy healer,
Mhm.
I decided to pass a certification to become a pregnancy and birth practitioner. So that gives me the title to be a doula, and I started to offer my doula service just this year. And I already had 3 births this year, actually. And it's very interesting to bring the energy part of it at birth because you can actually really help mama's heart and baby's heart to feel calm no matter what. I work in the hospital setup, and as we all know, hospitals can look and feel very scary, which is not what you want to feel when you give birth, because birth is actually the most beautiful process ever. I had 2 births. I had 2 boys, and I really prepare for this beautiful birth as well. And I have this mission here. I want women to embrace who they are and the womb and the birth. It's so important. So that's basically how everything came in. And now I'm both. I'm an energy healer and a birth doula as well.
Wow, what a powerful story. Just the fact that I know so many women go through this too, where they're being told they can't conceive or they're having trouble conceiving, and that you went through that and it happened for you in such a beautiful way because you did that healing. So I love that. And it's also a reminder that the spirit will always show up and bring you things and show you signs, like the fact that you kept getting those signs and now you were working with women and people kept telling you, "Oh, can you be a doula?" And now you're a doula. So it's just so fascinating because they feel like that's how spirit shows up. Like they'll keep coming back and keep sending you those signs. So you're like, I'm on the right path. Or if I haven't started it yet, maybe I should look into it. And I really want to dive into the energy part of this because as you were talking about healing yourself, so I guess there's a few things. First is energetically preparing yourself to give birth. So for anyone who's having trouble conceiving, or for anyone who wants to be a mom and just has been having trouble, what do you think is the best thing they can do energetically to set up their body and energy for that part of success?
I think there are a few things. So, first of all, is to look at how you're doing emotionally. I really believe that the way we feel inside, like the deep inside, has a lot to reveal to you. So I think that if you have struggled to conceive right now, I think it's important to go back in time and really try to understand how your body is feeling and just like try to remember if there's been anything done to you regarding maybe become a mother or just being a woman. So that's something that you definitely need to explore. And the other thing is, as you're talking about spirit, that faith that this is happening for a reason. And, something that I discovered on my personal journey and something that I see with a lot of my clients is a baby chose you. There's a soul for you here. But this soul needs to come in your body with no with not as much trauma or not as much wounds in your body, so then that soul doesn't get it once it's inside you. So I think it is very important to realize that we are in a fast changing world right now. We are into this awakening era, and the souls that are coming on earth need to have basically the land kind of cleaned up for them, if I can say that this way. I mean, this is really how I felt. I had to like release a lot of limiting beliefs and heal a lot of wounds. So my children did not had to like do it once they were incarnated. And so that's something to consider, and that gives, I feel like, a lot of hopes for moms. And the other thing is, if you have a deep desire to be a mother and you still like having your period and you still can conceive, even though you don't have your period, but you can conceive and heal your womb, because trust me, I didn't have periods for 2 years and I still conceived successfully. So there's always hope here, but basically connect with that baby soul, connect with that desire even to become a mother. I think like once you have the intention in you, it means that it's meant for you. And so like trusting that and taking action towards that faith, I really think can do magic and energetically can just like help you feel that it's gonna happen, and be
Yeah.
prepared as well too.
That makes so much sense. And when you were talking about like clearing things out so the baby can come in, I just brought it back to real life. And it was kind of like you're looking for houses, right? And so you're shopping around, you're looking at all these different houses, and you see two, and you see a house that's clean and tidy and free of mess. And then you walk into another house that's full of clutter and baggage and all of this stuff. And it's like, which would you choose, right, to start in?
Yeah.
Um, and so that's what it kind of like brought that image of, because also when, just like you said, when we're healing ourselves, we're making space for new things to come. And when your body, especially that womb and that sacral chakra, when it's
Yes.
full of stuff and like emotions and past traumas, it's so hard to birth anything new because it's so full of stuff. And when you start uncovering that and healing that and like pushing all of that debris to the side, it's just like you said, it leaves space for beautiful things to grow and birth. So I love how you shared that.
Of course, as you're saying this, it makes me feel like um, it's also important to take care of these wounds before you welcome a new soul, because once they are children in your life, they're going to mirror everything you haven't dealt with. So if you had any traumas, any wounds that you did not face yet, your children are going to put them in your face. Like, like you're not gonna be able to avoid it, and it's gonna be rough. And then this is how like motherhood can be really overwhelming. And I think that's why also like so many mothers, myself included, by the way, like I think we all have these overwhelming moments as we become mothers today. But it's just if you need tools, like we really need tools today to navigate these emotions and not project our own wounds on our children. Very important. Yeah.
Yeah, that is important. And even for myself, it's true because I feel like in the past, if I think about it, it was like if I had to deal with someone and they made me angry or I noticed a lot of patterns, it was easier for me to just like let them go and move on, disappear, like set that boundary. And you can't do that with your kids. Like,
Nope.
no matter what, they can make you really angry. They don't listen. They bring up a lot of stuff. And you
Yeah.
have to be the one to sit there and be like, I'm strong. I can heal this. I can listen to them. I love them. They're always going to be here. And you have to find ways to navigate that. But it also helps you to like give yourself grace and gentleness and strength because you're giving them love. They're giving you back love. And it's just, yeah, a whole journey in and of itself. And I like how you mentioned so I guess we talked a little bit about the pre-birth. So there's a few things I actually want to touch on. One is the pre-birth with which we actually talked about. The second is the baby's soul that you mentioned and how babies know they want to come into this life with you as their parent. Can you share more about that?
Yes, absolutely. So, there's definitely there's just like different sayings and beliefs around how a soul chooses you. So for example, when you are pregnant, many mothers, even fathers, are gonna feel like, the name of the child. And for some reason, we always feel so sure sometimes about a name, sometimes not so much, but at some point, you're gonna find a name that's gonna just be the perfect name. And that's how, like, for example, your baby is already talking to you. That's the baby soul. That's how that little whisper on how to choose the name, that's the baby soul just like being next to you. And this is how I want to be named. And this is what I want to carry as an energy. As you know, like the name carries a
Mhm.
lot of different themes and actually tells you a lot about what the soul chose in its life. But so that's the first thing that like I like to remember, when I think about baby soul. But there's also just like that desire to become a parent. And once you feel that desire, that soul is already here. And yeah, sometimes you have that desire when you're 10, when you are like, you know, a child, like especially little girls, you know, like we want a baby. That's because there's already a soul that shows you as the parent. And it's such a strong, strong bond already. So when you become very aware spiritually and you want to become a parent and you really tap into that intention of becoming a parent, you can actually feel already the love of the union that you're going to have with your child. And it's so strong, it's so beautiful. And that's how I call it the baby soul connection. It's just that feeling. And truly, what it does in your body is the production of oxytocin, which is the love hormone. And that's something that you can nurture during pregnancy. So, something that I love to remind my pregnant mamas that it's that connect with your belly, connect with your baby, and remember that that baby chose you because you're just the perfect parent for him or her. And I can tell that for every pregnant mamas, when they think about it, when they connect, they can feel the truth of it. You know, that yes, that baby really chose me. And they usually like you bring so much emotion, so much love. And I also nurture that oxytocin. And I think that's when you can tell that your soul is completely linked to that baby soul and the conversation can start already, so preconception and during pregnancy, and especially to prepare for labor too. Very, very
Mm.
powerful. Yeah.
Wow, wow, that's so cool. Yeah, even me myself, when I was pregnant, I think I mentioned this in a different podcast episode, but I felt the baby's heartbeat when I was doing Reiki. And that's before I took the pregnancy test,
Wow, that's
before
amazing.
I knew, yeah, you're connected to them. And I would say too, even if you haven't yet conceived, you can do that same thing. You can connect with that baby that's waiting for you to get ready to open up. So I would love to know, as women get closer to the birthing process, what are some ways to prepare for a stress-free birth, whether it's at home or at a hospital?
Well, so I think that that connection we just talked about with like baby's heartbeat, the connect, you know, that oxytocin love hormone, really thinking about your baby, the baby chose you, you are the perfect vessel to give birth. I think that's very important. I think that the number one tool, though, to prepare for a stress-free birth is the pain coping strategy.
Mm.
Get to know what is your pain coping strategy. So when you have when you have pain, when you hurt yourself, what do you do to feel better about it? So let's say, maybe you're breathing, maybe your voice is coming out, maybe you need to wrap something, maybe you just need someone to like grab you, right? So like these pain coping strategy are super important because as much as I don't like to say that birth is painful, contraction are definitely painful in the sense of like, yeah, your cervix is opening up, all of your bones are moving around, your muscles are stretching out. So yes, it's not gonna be comfortable. And so I think that the first tool that every woman should really get into is to get to know how they deal with uncomfort, like physical discomfort. So what you can do for that, you can do a chair pose. And when you're pregnant, the more you're pregnant, the more it's going to be difficult to do a chair pose. So you do a chair pose on a wall, and basically you're trying to see how you react and how can you handle it for 1 minute, because contraction usually don't last more than 1 minute. So that's the longest that you're going to have to handle it. And so if for 1 minute you're feeling that burn in your thighs and you can still breathe out, and try to keep calm, then you're gonna be really good to cope with pain during birth, right? And so like that practice is gonna help you feel like you are prepared, and that's gonna take stress away from you. The second tool that I really, really love, of course, is meditation. I really believe that if you can meditate during pregnancy, and when I talk about meditation during pregnancy, it's more about like closing your eyes, listening to some soothing music, and have a dialogue with your baby. Have a dialogue with your uterus. Have a dialogue with your cervix. Really connecting with the whole womb area and everything that's going on, and just like helping yourself, helping your body to feel heard and seen. So basically, just telling your body, I am safe, I'm good, we are made for this, we are made to give birth, right? So, like all this positive affirmation, that's part of that meditation that I consider being such a great tool during pregnancy for a stress-free birth, because when birth arrives, if you have practiced that connection with baby and your body, well, then every contraction, is just getting you closer to your baby. So like
Mm.
you have that mindset and you can really like keep going inward. And then the third tool I really think is thinking about having your baby. Just like, realizing you're gonna touch these mini toes and these mini fingers and that little nose. Which is like the best feeling of all. Like you can't explain it, but once you become a mother, you know that that little one is gonna be the most precious creature on earth for you. And so thinking about that, think about your baby, the whole pregnancy, and especially during labor, because that definitely takes the stress away. You'll just like, if you only focus on that like tiny baba on you, that's gonna be here any minute, like then like you're gonna really produce that oxytocin, and that's gonna help you relax the best way possible.
Those are amazing. Amazing, amazing tips. When I was pregnant, I did a little bit. I mostly did Reiki, but those tips to have now and to think about, like I think it would have made things a lot easier.
Yeah. I just hope that would be so much more popular. Like I think this is something that we all need as like a basic knowledge.
Yeah, and I think too, it's like you mentioned the fear, and I think a lot of times people are scared. They might be scared that they're not going to be enough for the baby, or that they don't know what they're doing, or that they can't handle it. But I love how you kind of wove in like the meditation, the affirmations, like the practice, so that you know that when it happens, you can get through it. And I think being able to plan ahead and kind of know that you can handle it is huge when it comes to
It's
fear.
huge. Yes, exactly. Like nurture that phase first because
Yeah.
once you are in it, that phase is not going to leave you. It's
Mm,
going to be actually stronger than ever.
awesome. And now for afterbirth, because that's another tough
Oh,
time,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Like that's a really hard time, even for me who like needs her sleep and was doing a lot of stuff by myself. It was so hard. And I had a C-section. So I had to deal with the pain and the recovery of that as well. What is one thing that every woman should know about postpartum energy healing and how that might help?
I think postpartum energy healing, the one thing that a woman should know is that it's going to accelerate the peace of your mind,
Mm,
because not only we're going to work on the physical body, so we're going to help all the energy to leave your body. We're going to release the baby's energy so your body can kind of like get back up for you, just thinking about your breast, you're probably going to breastfeed even though you don't, like just like feeling that your body's coming back to you. That's very important. That's very recharging. There's also all the scars, the physical scars that happen, when the placenta left your body, or the cuts that you have, if you have a C-section or even an episiotomy. The energy healing is going to totally accelerate also that healing process. And as you do Reiki, you might experience that as well. But when I do energy healing on these areas for women, I literally see that golden light just basically sewing the wounds, and it's the most beautiful process ever. And women find back, like I've been working with some traumatic childbirth experience for some women, and they could not have pleasure again. They just couldn't have any nice sensation in their yoni space. So once we've been doing energy healing, they could have pleasure. It's just incredible. They could have pleasure the day after. Like it's so instant. Energy healing during postpartum is so, so good for you because it accelerates the whole recovery. Can I add another?
yeah, go ahead.
Another thing that I think we should all know about postpartum healing is that you have an identity shift that no one really talks about.
Mm.
And in a way, we don't want to say, oh, yeah, when you become a mother, you are a completely different person. That's not true. You're absolutely the same person. But there is another layers of you that came out with that baby. And every birth is going to bring another layer of you. Um, and that new layer of you, you're kind of unsure if you want it or not. Quite frankly, I feel like it's this whole confusion of who am I? And it's so subconscious. We're so not aware that this is actually happening energetically that I think that's what also is bringing us so much self critics, and like we judge ourselves so much. We feel like we're not doing things right, or the postpartum depression, or even just like the feeling that something's weird with you because you're not feeling that happy all the time, where you should be that happy all the time. You just had a baby, right? So like that whole like culpability thing, completely man-made, by the way, completely society made. Because what happened, the truth is, something had to kind of like completely rebirth. It's a big rebirth process, and you're not gonna see yourself the same way that you saw yourself before the birth. So that's very important to take note of that and be aware of that and be very accepting of that. You're amazing just by the fact that you just birthed a baby and you became this other woman. I want women to know that you are a goddess. You are truly amazing. And all these sensations, these lows, and this, even the high, the down, it's all part of the process and it's all okay. Don't judge yourself ever during postpartum. You're doing all your best with what this society, this world provided us with, which is basically nothing. Uh, and now like you just bring that faith in you, bring that spiritual connection with your baby and your body, and allow to rest. I know it's hard, but we gotta rest when we heal, when we in postpartum. We need to nurture ourselves, get to know who we are. I think journaling during postpartum
Mhm.
should be like should be unavoidable. Like we need to journal when we're on postpartum. We need to understand who we just became.
That's a really good message. And I think it's true. I feel like you go through a huge transformation.
Huge.
And yeah, it really just shakes up like your entire life in
Oh
every
yeah.
aspect. And it can be really hard to deal with. But I think, just like you said, finding some coping strategies, getting support in any way you can, asking for help, or just really like tuning into yourself and giving yourself time and space and energy, just to kind of recover, because the recovery isn't an easy process. It's not a quick process. I mean, some people have amazing, quick, fast bonds with their babies right away, and then there's other people who don't, and that's okay. And it will grow, but it's just, I think, giving yourself that gentleness and that space to just be okay with where you are, knowing that it's going to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. It's healing on all aspects. It's not just about healing from the birth. It
Mhm.
brings up so many different other wounds that we may not have been aware before, and it's a time where you want to nurture yourself
Yeah, and
and
I know
definitely
you,
seek guidance.
yeah, definitely. And I know you talk a lot about managing self-sabotage. So, how do you help your clients and other women manage that?
Oh gosh, the self-sabotaging process. I mean, I think that the ego is kind of our best friend, in a way that the ego is made for us to really challenge our thoughts, our belief system, and really dive into our shadows and get to know what it is. And it's so important to be aware of this. So for me, the self-sabotaging process is basically letting your shadows lead the way and create your life. So, if you experience a lot of jealousy, if you have a tendency of gossiping, if you are into, even judging yourself or judging others, all these shadows, basically for me, is what I call the self sabotage patterns. So we basically have these self-sabotage patterns to challenge our own soul's growth. It's all about your karmic contracts right here. So what do I do to help them do that? Because I feel like the self-sabotaging patterns most of the time is in the subconscious.
Mm.
Once we become conscious of it, we still have a hard time to break that pattern. We are aware, but still, like it's just like stronger than our own mind, you know? So that's when you want to go in your Akashic records. That's when you want to go in what is stored in my subconscious. What is it in my body that makes me react that way or have this crazy phobia or these panic attacks or, you know, everything that comes with it, anxiety, lots of anxiety. So for my clients, I usually always go to the Akashic records. And that's when we go back to one of the past life and we find that memory where everything started. I know you're very familiar with that process, and I love that you are. And I think that's also what this era that we are in is asking us to do. I think that the source now is clear about that, that we need to go back in time and find out why do you have such a pattern that blocks you to find the perfect relationships, to have this successful financial business, or to, you know, have this healthy body, right? Like you name it. All of these blocks are basically stored somewhere in your past lives and or your soul's contracts. So that's where I go. I go
Mm.
there, and once we find out what happened, what did you sign up for? What did you do? Let's be honest, we've all been guilty of some stuff here. And then so we go there and we reprogram the story. And the reprogramming is so beautiful the way I experience it. Usually I always ask the source to bring me back to a free will moment in that life. So we go back to a free will moment and then we have this like divine intervention that happens that just brings some kind of awareness or feels for the life there. And then instead of choosing path A, you're gonna choosing path B, and that path B is gonna take you in a complete different timeline. And this is when I can finally like see that contract disappearing from my client's aura, or just these entities, or just these chains that sometimes they have on their energetic bodies. So all of that, then we are able to finally clear it out. And I love it because the feel is immediate. They always feel lighter right after. And usually you're going to find that strength. You're going to have the tools to finally break that pattern. The tools actually also, I feel like, are very important after an Akashic Records travel. I really believe that the person needs some guidance of what to do next, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna go home now. I would just like saw this like crazy memory in me, and I have to go home alone. So I've never let my client go home without at least three practices that they have to do at home to continue to nurture that new energy and to take actions as well on their own, take their own responsibility to just like break that pattern and stop the self-sabotaging basically. And it really works. I mean, people want to do this. They want to have a peaceful life, you know. So these practices are amazing. And as you know, when we talk about self-sabotaging, we're also talking about healing. It's so healing to break these patterns. To the
Yeah,
body body too.
I love how you brought up the Akashic Records. And yeah, I do a very similar thing. And I do agree that past lives and past memories in this lifetime really do impact our current moments, like our day to day, our feelings, our emotions, our fears, our self-sabotage, everything. And it's amazing when you start to like unravel and notice, like, exactly where did it start? What happened there? Why is it continuing? What did you not learn? Which is why it's continuing now. And how
Yes.
can you start to heal that and like complete that cycle, complete that union so that moving forward, it's no longer impacting you and like amending that and doing everything that you have to do that. And I also like how you brought up the point that people want to do it because if you don't want to do it, it's not going to happen. Like if you don't want to
Correct.
heal, you cannot heal. You have to want
Correct.
to heal. So I thought
Yes.
that was great.
Yes.
You're going to love the card I chose because I choose a card for every podcast guest.
Love it.
And yeah, I'm going to show you at the end, but you're going to
Okay.
love it.
Ooh, you're
So,
gonna be very intrigued. I love it. Ooh, okay.
so we're going to dive into the spirit segment now. And
Okay.
I want to know what is one thing you always include in your daily routine that helps you stay grounded and balanced that might help others do the same?
Okay. So something that always been helping me to heal and become more aware of the woman that I am is connecting with the feminine energy. And that's something that I promise myself to always nurture. And I do it on a daily basis. And how I do it, I do a breast massage every single day, even if it's like a second, like sometimes I'm getting dressed and like I don't really have time, but I'm still going to like connect with my breast and do a little massage and just like remember that heart chakra and just that love energy that this is how I want to be today, right? Like every day I'm just trying to lead with my heart space. Um, because it's very hard. I have two boys. And sometimes they drive me nuts, but I'm just like trying to really do that to myself at least once a day. And I think I've been doing this like easily for 8 years now, every single day. And it really helps me to keep grounded and connect with my feminine nature, my feminine body, and the fact that I want to feel centered in my heart. I think that's so important to keep a regulated nervous system. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing that. Do you have a favorite story regarding your connection to spirit?
I do.
Ooh, I want
It's
to know.
actually really special to me. I think this is the first time that I felt held, and I think this is the first time I also received some healing from the
Mhm.
divine. And I was 8 years old. So I grew up in a house that was very chaotic, lots of abuse in my house, especially from my father. Um, And I remember that night, I must have been like really sick, kind of like a bad flu. I remember having this crazy, like that very high fever. So I had
Mhm.
like hallucination and things and just not feeling good. And I had, this was, I think, my first time where I kind of like wish I would pass away. I had lots of suicidal thoughts when I was a kid because of the family environment I was in. Um, and I felt all of a sudden, I was in my bed at night thinking, like having all these dark thoughts. And I remember suddenly I felt some kind of like a blanket, like a nice, warm, kind blanket. And I started to feel like my whole body was relaxing. My heartbeat was feeling calmer. And I opened my eyes. It's gonna bring me tears, but I saw this woman. There was a woman on top of me. I mean, just not like just like in a light, like it was golden white light. I remember it like it was yesterday. And there was this face of a woman inside that light. And she was basically looking at me as if she was the most loving mother, looking at her baby. And she was looking at me with a smile and she was telling me that everything's gonna be okay.
Wow.
And I felt it. I felt it. I don't know. It gave me some sort of confidence. I could tell, and she healed me that day. I felt my whole body was feeling good. I fell asleep, and I remember the next day I felt good. My fever was away. I left my body. I was fine, and I just started to look at the sky every day after that day, and I felt her. I felt her every day of my life. And I always knew that life will be okay. And that really built such joy of life in me that never left me. Like no matter how hard life could have been, I was just like, I'm just gonna keep going because I know it's gonna be better and better and better. I'm always gonna go seek what's after that experience. And I was so young. I was 8. Um, yeah, he never
Wow.
left me. Even when I rejected spirituality in my teenage years, I stopped playing harp.
Hmm.
I got kicked out of school, like the bad stuff. I had her in my mind. And like I think that was also something that was helping me be super bold at the time because I was just like, I'm protected, I'm a star, and I'm gonna give everything I can for this life. And he
Wow.
really, yeah, yeah,
When you were telling me the story, even I just felt really at peace and calm. And I love that you were able to have that interaction. Now, side note, did you ever go into the records and see if you could figure out who she was and like information about that?
yes,
Oh,
I did.
okay. Awesome.
She is Mary Isis.
Mm,
She is the Divine Mother, and she is here for all of us.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's
she really
incredible.
came that day. Yeah,
Beautiful. Yeah, I feel like it's amazing to have those moments where, right, like someone in spirit or something in spirit comes through just to like let you know that it's going to be okay and that no matter what you're going through right now, like that sign can change your life. So
he
that's
really
amazing.
can.
You had it at such a young age. That's incredible.
I think
And
it's what kept me sane from my home environment. Like so
yeah,
many people know my story and they're like, how did you not become crazy?
right.
Well, I had my mom, she was sane, but I know I had that spiritual faith that really protected me.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Now, what is one final piece of advice you have for listeners trying to improve their spiritual well-being?
You know, I think the best advice I have is listen to you. Don't take any advice for now. Just really go inward and get to know what you want. And if you want to seek help and guidance, um, do your own research. And before you choose a person, try to see how it feels inside of you. I really think that your gut instinct never lies to you. So really take time to listen deep down how you feel about a person or a situation before reacting or before choosing them. And please don't do your healing alone. That is not that is not very sustainable. And sometimes it actually can do the opposite and brings you even more into dark thoughts and things like that. So seek guidance for sure and listen deep down how it feels when you connect with a person that might be good for you to help you.
Yeah, it's a great message too. And it's funny because I had one of my live calls for my Akashic Records course today. And when we're talking about, like in week 3, we talk about accessing future potentials. And that's exactly what I told them was like really tune into the emotions and like the way you feel about this, or this, because the emotions will always guide you to like really tune in and figure out what you need to hear and what's great for you. Ah, I love
Yes.
it. Love it. And where can our listeners learn more about you?
Pretty active on Instagram. So you can definitely come to my Instagram at Julie Fotis. I would love to connect. I love to chat. We can DM, we can chat, we can have a free call. I also have my website. It's called Intuitive Womanhood. And there you can see all my offers and contact me there too by email for sure. Instagram and
Awesome.
website. I'm an old school girl.
That's like me too. Okay, are you are you ready for the card?
Oh yes,
Okay.
I want to see the card.
Okay. All right. So the message that you got and the card that you got was the moon, which
Ooh.
reminded me of like how we got into the divine feminine. like that feminine energy, the self-sabotage, really uncovering like those issues below the surface so that you can bring them to the light and heal and feel whole. And like also how you work with the feminine and help women with their birth
And
journey and
birth.
motherhood journey. Exactly. It's
Yeah.
all about that like feminine. And yeah, so as soon as you started talking about that, like we touched on that and then the femininity, I was like, oh, this is beautiful. It's perfect.
So perfect. So perfect.
And the message for everyone else is to really, in this moment, just tune into your intuition. There might be some shadows coming up for healing, so lean into that in a gentle way and also pay attention to your dreams because something might come through during that nighttime message. So,
Oh, yeah.
Julie, thank you, thank you, thank
Thank
you for coming
you.
and being here and sharing all of those amazing stories and tips. I appreciate you and thank you so much.
That was really my pleasure. You're amazing. Thank you for having me.